Top of the morning to you. Not much news on the Twins front, but hopefully we'll keep you entertained as we try to fill a half hour. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hey, hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren, and you can unfollow me on Twitter at Brandon_WARNE. A quite apt metaphor for how my last few hours on Twitter have gone, but that's not the point. Hanging out with me, co-host and good friend, Answer Dave Brown. Dave Brown, how are we this eve?
Don't play on Twitter. Twitter will bite back.
Yeah, it's like picking on a dog. It's like the boy who cried wolf. There was an old Looney Tunes cartoon, and he kept crying wolf. And when they came back the third or fourth time, he was inside the wolf, and he was saying, "I'm a bad boy." You have to look it up. It's a really good old, like 1940s style Looney Tunes
Avery,
cartoon.
maybe.
Yep, exactly. I'll find it and share it with you.
What about the boy who cried Darren Wolfson?
That'd be a fun guest to have. We love our Doogie. Thanks, though, for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. I know why you're here today, and we'll get to that in just a second. But we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets. That's a new amount, $200, if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. By the way, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube called Locked On Sports Today. And any time of the day, 24/7, we're covering the top sports of the stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and hit subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And Dave Brown, quite a surprising notification to get on the Twitter machine /X. Twins in agreement, or actually I think it was Seattle Mariners in agreement to trade with Minnesota Twins to acquire second baseman, and then it cuts off. So obviously you have to open up the app to see, but
teases
Twins trading a second baseman. I think the writing's kind of been on the wall that the right move there was going to be Jorge Polanco. So initial thoughts hearing, I think first let's separate out the return. Just your thoughts about the Twins trading Jorge Polanco in a vacuum.
So you want to know what I think about him leaving?
Yeah.
Well, like you said, it was kind of, it felt like it was inevitable. It was sort of those worst kept secret sort of things that it was going to happen based on how the roster came together last year, somewhat in Polanco's absence with other players, Eduard and so forth at second base. Polanco became expendable. So he's been one of their steadier guys in the middle of the lineup for a number of years. So he'll be missed. But at the same time, the Twins have the depth to cover it, and they got back some players that I think 2 or 3 of them I'm pretty excited about for the Twins. But, Polanco's, I'm not saying he lost a step, but I'm wondering if that's coming soon. So I think it was the right move to move him as opposed to somebody else. And they got a decent return for him. We'll see if it all works out. But as far as what we know at the moment, it looks pretty optimistic.
And honestly, yeah, it's never easy to see a guy who's been in the organization as long as Jorge Polanco has go. It's just not. And he was signed in that vaunted 2009 IFA class with Max Kepler and Miguel Sano. So that's taking it back a ways. And so though to do what they did as far as trading the more expensive, older player, it really shouldn't come as surprising based on everything we've kind of gathered about this offseason. Plus, just reading between the lines of every young hitter that they seem to have coming up is an infielder of some form or fashion. I mean, I know they have outfielders, but they also added one in the trade, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I guess, yeah, it isn't that surprising. It stinks from the standpoint of, as fans, they want players to root for that they know. But with that said, not that surprising. And there's definitely a path to the Twins winning the trade that doesn't have to be all that difficult of a path to toe, if you ask me.
No, they've given themselves some options with who's coming back, and they have depth at second base. So I'm not sure. I think they're covered as far as Polanco goes, but it's they didn't add a number 2 starter. I was kind of hoping that they would maybe package Polanco and another player and get somebody from Seattle's rotation. Well, they did, but they didn't get the top of the rotation. They got Anthony DeSclafani, who comes over. He was part of the Robbie Ray deal, I think, with the Giants.
Yep.
And he started out really good last year, but then got was it a flexor strain or a
something in the elbow? Yeah, which Twins
sometimes
and elbow.
It's a
better use the Google.
It's a precursor to Tommy John or bad things, but it just required rest. So he started out well, had this injury. His stats went to heck after that, and then basically rested toward the end of the season. So, but in 2021 and the beginning of 2023, but in 2021, he was really good. His first year as a free agent, signing with it's a very intriguing, excellent player, like, sneaky number 2 or 3 starter good kind of player. I don't know if we can count on that or not. But it's a good move if you're not going to go out and really break the bank for somebody.
Yeah, kind of shades of Tyler Mahle, where the numbers have been good in the past, and you get the sense that they could possibly be good again. There's the elbow question mark. And then also the fact that he's just a former Red. I think that's kind of icing on the cake. But the potential is there. It remains for him to be, like, if you wanted to say to yourself that either one of Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, Chris Paddock, or Anthony DeSclafani jumps up to be your number 2 starter this year, it wouldn't be hard to sell me on one of those 4, maybe even 2, but they don't need more than that. So it's a defensible move. I still think they need to get another starter, even though that will bounce somebody from the rotation who's pretty good. With that said, though, I don't know. I still need another starter.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen or not
I don't
at this point until later in the season, depending on how things shake out. I think that's where they're at now. I don't see them making another deal anytime soon. I think this is who they're going with for now. And it's a little scary, but on the one hand, but I think it helps them a little bit in the Central Division. I'm not sure if it helps them do anything beyond that, but it cements them as the favorites from that standpoint. And they needed to get somebody, and DeSclafani, if he's healthy, is an excellent somebody. So I think he's 33. He doesn't throw too hard, for pitchers these days. I think he's about 94.
Yeah, still pretty good though.
Still pretty good. And if rest is all this injury required to be better, then he's got a chance to be really good. 3 years ago now, he was excellent. He's one of the more underrated pitchers in the league. He's 90th, 92nd percentiles as far as overall effectiveness.
And let's run down the full effect of the deal before we go to our first break. Twins shipping Jorge Polanco for Justin Topa, right-handed reliever, right-handed starter Anthony DeSclafani, outfielder Gabriel Gonzalez, and pitcher, kind of a lottery ticket in Darren Bowen. To me, the get here is Gabriel Gonzalez, and I believe I saw he was 79th in the most recent releasing of MLB prospects on Pipeline. They have already moved him over to the Twins' top 30, and he slots in 4th between Emmanuel Rodriguez and Marco Raya. To get a prospect of that caliber, 2 pitchers, who could throw anywhere from 50 to 150, 180 innings combined, 100, maybe even 200. And then a lottery ticket besides. I think they did okay. We'll come back and discuss that more. I do, though, want to take a quick second and bring you some information on a new sponsor, and actually one that's kind of fun. It's food related. So we'll be back in just
I like food.
Yeah, right. Factor Meals is a new sponsor, and if you want to get started on your resolutions or keep going on them, as it were, as we're coming up on the end of the first month of 2024, this is the way to go. Factor's ready-to-eat meals are a delivery service, and it takes the stress out of meal planning, sets you up for success in the new year. I know I'm trying to work out and get into a little better eating habits just to, get my A1C stable and keep it down so I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And I feel better. I feel better when I eat better. I feel better when I work out. I feel better when I get a good sleep schedule. All of this comes together, and Factor Meals is a big part of that. You can skip the grocery stores, the prep work, the cooking fatigue, and get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals right to your door. Over 35 meals to choose from each week. And if you're doing keto, vegan, vegetarian, calorie smart, whatever you're doing, they have it. And then 55 weekly add-ons besides. So you have all kinds of nutritious and healthy options to kickstart your resolutions. Easy for me to say. So you've got all of these opportunities at Factor Meals. Go to factormeals.com/LockedOnMLB50 and use the code LockedOnMLB50 to get 50% off. Again, Locked On MLB50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnMLB50 to get 50% off. Dave Brown, that's a lot of Locked On MLB50 to remember. So I'm going to make sure people are aware again that factormeals.com/LockedOnMLB50 and then Locked On MLB50 is also the code. 50% off, though. That's not bad. I like food. And so
it only gives you one phrase to remember, so that's good.
Yeah. Double up on it, I guess. So yeah, we're here talking about the Jorge Polanco trade.
No food was exchanged in the deal
that we know of. You remember the Dave Winfield trade story?
Which one?
From 1994.
No, go ahead.
So the Twins, it was while the strike was going on, but they weren't positive that they weren't going to come back yet. And the Twins traded Dave Winfield to Cleveland. And the return cost was a dinner somewhere that Cleveland picked up the check on. So
that sounds against the rules.
Well, I also don't know that the Dolans have ever picked up a meal, but I don't remember if they owned the team back then. So nevertheless, not the point today.
Not sure. Yeah.
Gabriel Gonzalez is kind of not necessarily the headliner. Like any one of Desclafani, Topa, and Gonzalez could really stake their claim this year as being the best piece traded. Topa probably not as much, just because he's an early 30s reliever. He's going to probably reprise the Emilio Pagan role. If we assume Desclafani can kind of do a Kenta Maeda impersonation, Chris Paddock gives you a nice little upgrade in the rotation beyond that for maybe the back end. But again, they still need to add a starter. But getting a right-handed outfielder who's super young and still ascending. Again, each of these pieces individually, I'm kind of like, okay, well, I can see pros and cons. Maybe not Gonzalez just because he's such a young player. But like altogether, I think the Twins did just fine. When they said it was 4 players coming back, and I was kind of texting back and forth with people, and I don't remember, did you say this too, where, I kind of thought it was going to be a much lower, people were having dreams of Emerson Hancock and Woo and all those guys. And
Ric Flair?
No,
Brian Woo.
David Flair, his son, who had a cup of coffee in WCW in the late 90s. No, but I know what you mean. So I don't know, like if I were to grade the deal, it's like a B+ for me, A-, because again, so much can change.
It's obviously very early to grade the deal,
Right,
but I was
right.
thinking A-, just
Yeah.
feeling generous. I don't know. Gonzalez is very intriguing. He's 20 years old. He's a right-handed power hitter. His pitch selection isn't naturally awesome, but it's okay. He's got a really good arm. He's not a center fielder. He's he's a corner. He doesn't have the range for center. I think he's slowed down a bit according to the scouting reports, since he's been a pro. But he's really, you mentioned, I don't remember where you had him in the pipeline, but Baseball America has him 66th in 2023 overall, 66th
Yeah.
best prospect. I mean, that's a good, between the depth and at Polanco, or the depth with Topa, DeSclafani, and this kid, and we haven't even talked about you mentioned
Bowen.
lottery ticket esque, the fourth player in the deal. I'm excited about Gonzalez's possibilities in the future, and he's just 20, over 300 hitter, not a whole lot of strikeouts, but a good arm and decent power, maybe 475, 480 slugging percentage in the low minors. So maybe he can get to Double-A this year and finish, and then by the end of next year, maybe we'll see him in the majors.
Yeah, man, he was born in January of my senior year, so I'm definitely not loving that. But yeah, strong run at Modesto, little less good at Everett, but he was 3.5 years younger than his average league contemporary at Everett this year in High A, a little over 2 years younger at Modesto in the California League. So it's not as though the fact that he went up and hit 216 with a 677 OPS in High A should be overlooked, that he was young for the level. Corner outfielder, right-handed hitter. He does give the Twins something they don't have much of in their farm system. So honestly, if you told me they got Gonzalez for Polanco alone, I'd be like, I mean, they needed some pitching help, but value-wise, I think I'd have been like, all right, whatever, So to get a few more pieces in addition to, like I said, that, and you said, the lottery ticket, Darren Bowen. Again, I keep coming back to the fact that I think I am cool with the deal, honestly.
And Topa is one of those guys who just who took a while to, sometimes relievers do. I think he's 32 to become an effective guy. But I don't know how long the window is there. But like you said, that's a guy who can maybe fill Pagan's role or something to that. You can never have enough decent pitching in the bullpen. Especially these days when starters, if they get out of the fifth, it's it's a cause for celebration. So it's got some key pieces to help the organization. Two guys that I think they're going to count on to be among the 26 guys for most of the season.
Yeah.
So and two guys that to help maybe for the future. So considering that and the money that they got and the financials and where Polanco is in his life and his career and his contract, it's a good day.
Yep. Yeah. Eric Longenhagen, friend of the show, former guest for Fangraphs in July, wrote the following on Darren Bowen. So he had Bowen 22nd in his Mariners farm write-up. I believe he does not appear in the top 30 unless he snuck into the top 30 with his trade for Seattle. I'm going to check that just to be sure, but I believe not. No, he's not in the top 30, but he is, or no, I guess he would be over on the Twins side now, so I don't know what I'm looking for. On the Twins side, okay, he's 28th. So again, 28th, it's whatever, but Eric Longenhagen said this. Bowen is an exciting Division II prospect from UNC Pembroke, whose per outing innings count is being brought along slowly at Modesto. Bowen is a college-age prospect, but extremely lanky and projectable, and already one of the harder throwers in the system, Mariner system at the time. Working only 2 innings at a time, but his fastball is averaging just shy of 95 miles per hour. Slider has big natural action that will need to be manicured and located more precisely than Bowen has to this point. Watch Modesto games, and you'll see that opposing right-handed hitters have a really hard time parsing his 2-pitch mix and end up taking front door sliders for strikes. Arm actions as long as Bowen's aren't typically well suited for changeup development, but he's usually in a great position at foot strike, and he's super loose athlete. For now, he's a wonderful developmental prospect whose pro career is just underway. So to me, that screams, hey, this guy will probably be a reliever. He's probably going to throw the piss out of the ball. And if he develops a changeup, they'll give him a look in the rotation. But as far as fourth pieces in a trade, you can do a lot worse than this.
And remember, if he's going to throw the piss out of the ball, remember, wash your hands.
Yes. And Moises Alou, I think, is staunchly in favor, though. So
I was just thinking about him the other day. That I've always wondered if he really meant it, or he just was like admitting to peeing in the shower, and this was his way of turning it into something else.
Maybe. I don't know. Oh, let's talk about FanDuel. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show. We'll talk a little bit more about this trade because there's still a lot of meat on the bone. But first, a word from FanDuel. All right. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It's the 49ers and the Chiefs. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday, it's all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. So Super Bowl Sunday for me is about the food. It's about the friends. The game, obviously, a huge deal. And then the commercials are pretty fun, too. Music, I don't care about as much. But how about you, Dave? I mean, you're in one of the cities represented in the big game. Are you excited about it? Do you have anything you're really anticipating, or is it more just another game?
Well, I do want to see if Taylor is going to make this flight. The international dateline will help her, I guess, get from her concert in Japan. So she's not going to perform, but you said music, so I thought of that. And my 12-year-old daughter's very much a Taylor Swift fan and liked Travis Kelce before, so that they're together.
Synergy,
absolutely. So I think Patrick Mahomes is like at quarterback is like watching Michael Jordan. So I hope everybody appreciates his goodness.
Yeah, and there's plenty of ways you can bet on the big game. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3, and you can do prop bets even. So not only who will win Super Bowl 58, but who will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, you name it, it's available. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets for your first bet of $5 that wins. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Dave Brown, I had kind of a random thought today. I think if Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift get married, former Vikings wide receiver Travis Taylor should be the officiant.
Oh, because of the shared names is the holy man.
Yeah, right. Both Christian names for them. I don't know. It's never going to happen to that, but that's where my brain's at. Most.
You don't think they're going to get married? Are you a naysayer?
No, I mean, Travis Taylor won't be invited. I don't think. Maybe like Terrell Owens, but probably not Travis Taylor. But I digress quite frequently. So where do the Twins go from here? Again, Desclafani, if he's starting on your fifth
Fort Myers. I'm sorry.
Wow. Don't quit. I was going to say don't quit your day job, but that feels really insensitive. I apologize.
Yeah, I don't really have one.
Yeah. How do I come back from that? The Desclafani as your Kenta, Topa as your Pagan, Gonzalez as your, I don't know. And basically it's something you don't have. So that's good.
Your new Celestino. No.
Yeah. And then Bowen, who, again, kind of like Churio at the back end of that Arise for Lopez trade. If you get something, it's pretty cool. And if not, nothing wagered, nothing lost.
Topa 5 years ago.
What's that?
Like Topa 5 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. And he
developing.
I saw a video. So I saw one thing that said that the Mariners back in when they drafted Bowen, they think that it's possible they stole him, like where they got him in the draft.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like the 13th round. And you say that about all the picks at that time, especially prospect guys. They're looking for, just good things to say about these guys because they're still kids after all. But Topa, there's a video of him. I want to say it was with the Brewers, maybe like 2020. And he just has this ridiculous slider. And if you know anything about the Twins and this front office, they have an obsessive relationship with the slider. Desclafani throws it a ton, which again is a curious proposition with his elbow issues. But
yeah, that's his best pitch for sure.
Yeah,
when it works.
So, I don't know. I mean, I think I keep coming back to the fact that I think they did fine. This can't be the end of the offseason. It just can't. They're at 40 on the 40-man roster. No 40-man implications here, as both Bowen and Gonzalez are not 40-man needs at this point. So 1 out, 2 in. The claim of Bubba Thompson had gotten them to 39. So they're even at 40 right now. So any move they make from this point on, they'll have to have a corresponding move. Although with that said, the closer they get to spring training, they can put guys on the 60-day IL. So they may not have to get all that creative either.
With now Polanco gone, does that mean like Kyle Farmer is a little more likely to stay?
Yeah, the steam seems to be that he's probably going to stick around. Though with that said, if someone comes offering and you still have Willie Castro and Nick Gordon and all the infield prospects besides, I'm sure you can listen, because if a guy like Jorge Polanco brings back this much, and again, I love Jorge Polanco, he's a great player, but he's not a superstar and he plays second base. Farmer, certainly not a superstar, but a useful player. You know, is he better than Isaiah Kiner-Falefa? Are they kind of in a similar vein? Sure, those players have value. So maybe somebody calls and says, hey, for Kyle Farmer, we'll give you, our number 7 prospect. And it's a left-handed pitcher who throws 92, but has a really good slider. Maybe they do that. I don't know. But it does open up. And I think it's rude to say someone is addition by subtraction. Usually that's for malcontents, guys who are declining, or like Aubrey Huff, if he's leaving the country, like that's addition by subtraction. But he was talking about it on Twitter today. I asked him how soon he was leaving, but he didn't answer. Aubrey
Huff's Twitter is back?
I guess. He was talking about foreign women being more subservient. It was pretty gross. But
should he be talking?
No, he's just working on his next divorce. And what I said to him was, how quickly are you leaving? Well,
and Warren.
I don't feel bad, though. He's a scumbag. Anyway, nevertheless, all of that is addition by subtraction. It's not fair to say that about Polanco, but it will open up opportunities for other players to provide more value. Edouard Julien. Julien not playing first maybe means more Kirilloff, more Miranda over there. Royce Lewis gets a full crack at third base. He probably was going to anyway, but you know what I mean. It's not addition by subtraction in the negative sense, but it's clearing a log jam so that logs can flow more freely, to use a metaphor, lumberjack metaphor, I guess, Paul Bunyan, whatnot.
Are we still planning? Are the Twins? What is one aspect of the DeSclafani trade that we didn't really talk about yet? What's up with Louis Varland at this point? Are we still stretching him out?
He'll be starter 6 probably. I think the worst kept secret is that they believe in him and would give him that opportunity if it arises in season. You send him back to St. Paul, let him stretch out to 4 innings. You go 50, 65, 80, 100 pitches and whatever. But they don't want it to be something they lean on. I think it is something that they want him to force upon them by just dicing it either in the bullpen or over in St. Paul. I think they're going to roll 6 deep with this bullpen with Thielbar and Varland and Jax and Duran and who am I missing? Stewart and Topa.
Or not over.
What's that?
No, I'll be back. Cody Funderburk.
Alcala is going to be in the mix. And beyond that,
Josh
Stalmont's probably going to be at the front end of that bullpen to start if he's healthy. It's a good bullpen. I prefer this to signing a reliever, especially because if you're going to get a reliever for a 1-year deal, they're probably not going to be as good as Topa. So I think they did well there. But yeah, what am I missing? What am I missing from the analysis of the deal that you would kick in?
Well, that's certainly an open-ended question, isn't it?
We have 2 minutes, so take your time.
we don't have to use up all the 2 minutes. Okay, one thing. Does this do anything negative to the clubhouse? Polanco, a guy who
Right.
you
Been around
mentioned
forever.
coming up the way he is, is there now a hole there of
No,
leadership or a vacuum or something like that?
no, I don't think so. I think Royce Lewis steps in and fills any leadership vacuum there. And I think this team is run by 3 players: Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton,
And the
Pablo
Masons.
Lopez.
Oh no, Pablo Lopez.
Pablo Lopez, who's sounds like an A+ human being. Yeah, it stinks to lose a good team. It stinks to lose a good dude, but I don't think there'll be unrest or anything like that. I think Polanco's got that quiet demeanor, like rah guys. To me, that the value in that is overstated in baseball anyway. But nobody is expecting him to lead. I think Carlos Correa is expected to do that. Buxton, Pablo, a few other guys obviously can. Royce Lewis has that magnetic personality. You and I discussed that A+ dude also. This last weekend during Twins Fest.
A guy
Yeah,
like Polanco, where I think is valuable from a one of those intangible standpoints in the clubhouse is um, somebody whose temperature doesn't get too hot or too cold, and you
yep,
need people like that over 6 months, 162 games, the long season. You need
yep.
some guy that you're oh, there's Jorge over there being Jorge, everything's going to be
Doing his thing.
okay, kind
Yep,
of stuff. So
yep.
I think that's something where somebody else, a younger player, is going to have to step up and be that sponge, if you will.
Ultimately, I thought it would be a hard trade to make because I didn't know if teams would value him enough to make it happen. But I think it did. And it's surprising that this is the first huge trade that we can say that Derek Falvey and Jerry DiPoto collaborated on. So, yeah, that's all we have time for, though, Dave Brown. Thank you so much for hanging out, everyone. Good deal for the Twins. I think Dave and I both agree. But for now, we have to get out of here. And thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow night.